generally speaking, and just so folks on this call know, and for those who may be viewing this recording, my role as a regional lead for Region 5 Expanded Learning. We are an arm of the Department of Education Expanded Learning Division, providing support to grantees who receive public dollars. So state ACES money, California has the After School Education and Safety Program. We also administer through the state our 21st Century Learning Centers program for summer. It's our only source of dollars for summer. Also, it's the only source of funding for high school assets programs. And so what's interesting to note about this, and what's particularly challenging for the agencies and districts who receive these public dollars, is that we are under typically a guideline of 1 to 20 staff-student ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And so with these new guidelines, looking at the 1 to 10 staff and student ratio, you can imagine the funding does not go as far as it normally would. And state funding has never been a fully funded program to begin with. Our programs receive $8.88 per kid per day to provide enrichment programming to youth. And other folks will know this too. In other states, it's $7.50 per kid per day for 21st Century. So we're already working with a limited number or limited amount of funding. And again, goes back to the point earlier about how important it is to really put our heads together, our resources together to provide a rich program. 1 to 10 definitely changes things quite a bit in terms of the amount of students who could be served in an in-person setting. And along with that, and you can see here, these are pretty common. Folks are very much familiar with these guidelines by now, but temperature and wellness checks upon arrival, frequent hand washing, at least 20 seconds, singing the ABCs or whatever creative thing you can come up with by way of hand washing for 20 seconds, access to hand sanitizers, tissues, and no-touch trash cans. I mean, things that we haven't really been necessarily, we've sort of taken it for granted before, right? No sharing of meals, toys, games, or equipment, and understanding how important it is for that equipment to be cleaned after its use every single time. Things like asking parents and caregivers to bring their own pens for sign out, things we haven't necessarily had to think about before. That again is a source of potential transmission, and so making sure everyone's aware that that's a factor. And of course, maintaining the big one, social physical distancing of 6 feet apart, and altering physical space to maintain that environment when staff are working with youth. And now, of course, requiring cloth face coverings, masks for staff. So as best we can, we're trying to keep those groups of 1 to 10 small together. The same staff person is required to stay with that group of 10 at all times, and we're encouraging folks to make sure that siblings remain together, because that's really important. But you won't see Danny or Lucille and I having a rotation of kids, for example. In our programming, it would be Danny with one group, I'm with another group, Lucille's with another group, and we're with that group constantly.